People would always say that have 7 sources of income, have 5 sources of income, and then you see someone doing 5 businesses that are extremely at loggerheads. Well, for us, we looked into our business and we are like, okay, what are the ways we can get money from this business? And I mean, I've mentioned about 5 ways that, you know, we get money from our business, and that's it. You want to ensure that your books are good. You want to ensure that your regulatory bodies are okay. Your certifications are okay. We also have FDA, as an organization. One of the things that because we supply to the US market, we are also registered in the US. Morganics is registered there. So one of the things we also did was to get the regulatory body of that country so that, we can easily um sell in that community. And lastly, just last week we had an ISO. ISO is another European certification. We had the gap analysis inspection like 2 weeks ago, and we are also looking forward to get that certification so that we can also export properly through the right channels, through direct export to UK and Europe as a whole. So regulatory body is extremely important, especially when it comes to cosmetics and food. And everybody that wants to take themselves serious, I mean, you can start small. I always tell people that it doesn't matter where you're starting, start from small, but have it in the pipeline. If it is 2 years down the line, 5 years down the line, you're able to understand the dynamics of your business, you're able to understand what people really want, so that those are the things that you are registering, and those are the things that you're putting. It's almost like you're putting your best foot forward to increase your revenue. Yes.
That's very clear. That's very, very clear. Just to do a little recap of my understanding, right? So people are allowed to an extent to start their business, to start some kind of production, right? And they can sell on a limited basis to the members of the public, right? Could be
I think
food,
this
could
is
be
a this is a very dicey one, because I cannot
okay.
categorically say that people can. But however, there is something called sampling in production. You also want to
Okay.
sample
Yeah,
your
yes,
product,
yes,
because
yes, 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 absolutely.
after your research and development, you want to sample your products. You want to
Mm,
understand what reception your product has. You want
mm,
to ensure that your product is really solving a need.
mm.
Of course, if you don't have NAFDAC, you won't be on any shelf in Nigeria.
You cannot be on
A
any
lot of
shelf in
supermarkets,
Nigeria,
you
well, which
can't be
is
on
yeah,
any
which is
shelf. Do you
won't take you
understand?
in.
Yeah, nobody's going to take you in. However, you're also able to understand what the market really wants, what is really working, what are your best products. I've been to a number of training with NAFDAC, and one of the things they would always tell you, have you done your research very well to know that this product, so you also want to do, so it's not more like you're selling, it's more of you're carrying out market research to understand the viability of that product. Yes, especially for MSMEs. For big companies, I mean, you can just put in that money and then invest a lot of money in marketing. But for an SME, sometimes every kobo counts.
That's very helpful, Debisi, and thanks a lot for sharing that because I wanted to have that understanding. Never produced anything myself, but I know there are a lot of people out there who are thinking of something, right? Who are thinking of producing this, and this perspective will help them. And there are two things I want to kind of double click on or just pick on from what you said. Number one is the fact that you know produce it but test it with some people around you, right? And based on their feedback decide on what you will register with NAFTA, right? And then the number two thing I also want to pick from that, which is a little bit of a surprise to be honest, is what you said around the fact that even when you went to the training with NAFDAC, they were very particular. Are you sure this product will sell? Are you sure? Because the impression we get about NAFDAC is they are just like killjoys, right? People who don't want you to, who just want to take advantage. You know the way people look at government agencies. So for you to be saying that they are actually hard for us to succeed, right? And because they know the process is rigorous, they are also kind of they want to be sure that are you sure you've done your assignment, your homework, and this will sell before you go through all of that. I mean, it's really a good thing to hear from somebody who has been through that process and who knows that these guys are not just here to they're not there to frustrate people, but to help them even succeed. So thanks a lot for sharing that. It's kind of mindset shifting, I'm sure, for a lot of us.
I think that policy is academics, and that means that they are the ones in charge of the policy. However, I don't think they are proud that there are a lot of products that are not, properly registered. Does it mean that everybody in NAFDAC is nice? I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that if um, you're able to a reasonable extent, show that you know what you're doing. Because a lot of times we have some people that are not I don't want to use the word lazy, but they are not as detailed. It comes off as okay, you're just whiling away time. If you take your business like a business and not an hobby, there's a difference between the way you approach it. And another thing I also want to talk about concerning registration. Now, I believe that people should not run in silos. There are some people that have clusters. For us, for instance, at More Organics, we're already building our cluster such that if you're in the beauty industry, you can come and use my space to get your NAVDAC. I know a couple of people that are also in the food industry. If you're in the food industry, you can come and use, the person's space for NAVDAC. I know that a couple of people that does that, and NAVDAC will come and certify that space to be
Mm.
being used to be like a contract manufacturing area.
For that
So
other person. Mm.
for that other person, because if you look
Mm.
at the cost of running businesses in Nigeria, it is extremely expensive. Is it
Mm.
the cost of energy? You're on band
Yeah.
A and the band A is
Yeah.
no banding. The cost of fuel is something, the cost of raw
Yeah.
materials is
That,
something.
yeah.
Everything is not
Yeah.
adding up,
Yeah.
and you don't want
Yeah.
to incur that cost. Why not pay a certain
Mm.
fraction to somebody
Mm.
to use their own space for your production, and that way you have your NAVDAC, and the other person is also looking at your processes to see how they can help you to ensure that it is standardized. That way you're
Mm.
leveraging, you're collaborating, and you're also
Absolutely.
expanding.
Yeah, because you're not producing 24 hours, right? You're not producing
No,
24/7. So you have some
no.
like freed up capacity that some other people can leverage, and it
Yes.
comes to them cheaper, and mm.
Yes. For
And then,
instance, even
are
at
you
More
sure?
Organics, we do white labeling for organizations. There are some people that you don't want to go through the stress of manufacturing. You just want to have your label on it. There is no problem. Tell us your idea. Tell us what you want to achieve
Mm.
with the product. We develop the
Mm.
product together. We send samples to you, and then you come back
Mm.
to us after we've both agreed on it. We mass produce for you. And then all you just
Mm.
need to do is you put your label and you repackage it yourself.
Now you've touched on something very interesting, right? That it's been at the back of my mind to ask you, but now that you you mentioned it, I just want to go into it. So, apart from product manufacturing, and it looks like you provide some kind of services, right? Now, what is the scope of that? Do you do some kind of consulting? Do you do, I know people that look at your skin and say, I'm sure you can look at my skin now and say, Kunle, you need to do this, that kind of stuff. So do you do that? Do you do this contract manufacturing? If people want to reach out to you, how does that work?
Okay, so presently we are contract manufacturing for three organizations, and those three organizations or three brands, they are not even in Nigeria. So basically what you do is you let us know what you want to achieve. What kind of products you're looking at. Of course, we are a natural skincare brand, so we let you know that these are the things. There are some things that you will not find in our products. You will not find bleaching, whitening, and all of those things in our product. So we make you know from the beginning, this is what we are, this is what we do. And so we work with what you want to achieve, and we decide on the kind of raw materials that you want. We consult on that level, and we're able to advise, on what we feel should work and what should not work. And then we send samples to you. You check, you tell us if you want it, if you like the velocity, you tell us if you like the fragrance that's or the essential oils that is in it. Tell us everything you want, and then we can produce what you want for you. And even if you want us to brand it for you, I mean, send your artwork, or we tell our team to design your label for you. We print it for you, and you just have your finished product. So all you just do is probably market it by yourself. So we have that aspect of the business. We also have the aspect of training. So we also do online training. That's digital training in skincare. That was one of the feedback from Algeria. So in going to Algeria for the longest time, we've been having people that would come in for training physically, but this time around because the person was in another country and she was interested in learning. I have about three people that are interested in learning, so we designed the curriculum for them, and we're able to just send it to them. Okay, this is what we'll be working on for this period of time, and we started that as well. Aside from that, we also work with governments and organizations and private individuals, organizations that gifts. So the idea is we should be proud of our heritage as Nigerians, as Africans. And Africans, and we should push our products. We can't say that we want to build the naira, and not invest in homegrown country companies like more organics or any other products that are indigenous. It can be adere, it can be infusing our culture and our story to our organizations consciously. So we work with organizations as well in creating gifts for them. And these gifts are basically, there is nobody in the world that does not bait. Everybody has their
Mm.
bait. Everybody cream their, not maybe everybody does don't cream,
Maybe
but
not
everybody have their bait. So
different frequency,
you
but
understand what I'm trying to say, but you bath every day. So
yeah.
our product, we toss it into gift items for government institutions. We toss our products, there should be a box where it's an African box. So products like black soap, that like shea butter, like coconuts chips that are very indigenous to us, like chocolates that are made in Nigeria, like African fashion, like the bags, the slippers. You want to gift. Who says that organizations should be gifting just jotters that they buy from China and they put their logo on it to their clients? Nobody says so. The idea is to gift. So why not gift responsibly? Why not gift of other rice that is grown in Nigeria, to your community members or your clientele? So we are also pushing that in both the public and private sectors for organizations. So we create gifts for organizations as well, and we infuse our products in them. So that's another source of revenue for us. And then we also, because we have direct relationship with the women along the value chain, we also supply raw materials, especially indigenous raw materials in bulk, to those that are in the manufacturing space. So we supply them as well. So those are some of the other ways that we generate income. People would always say that have seven sources of income, have five sources of income, and then you see someone doing five businesses that are extremely at loggerheads. Well, for us, we looked into our business and we're like, okay, what are the ways we can get money from this business? And I mean, I've mentioned about five ways that, you know, we get money from our business, and that's it.
Mm. So everything's still within the same, basically the same sector, right? But you're
Mm-hmm.
milking it in different ways to different target audience, and that's an interesting one. I'm sure there is a lot of lessons for all of us to learn from these. Now there is a trend, ma'am, that I want to check with you. Now it's the trend of you know how you manage, and I mean I've had an interview with another person, right, that I also saw that trend, and I think it's becoming a thing, so I want to kind of check it, like the combination of for profit with social impact, right? How does that work? Because what you do today in more organics, right, is for profit, but there is a social impact element of it, the empowerment of women and all of that. Because some of these organizations that grants and all of that, I'm not sure what they're funding. If they're funding the for-profit side of the thing, or they're funding the social impact of the thing. Number one, how does it work, right? And is that what is opening the doors to all these other global organizations for funding? I hope that is clear enough.
How we merge? You mean how we merge the profit
How do you
part
manage to
with the
combine the profit side of the business with the empowerment and the social impact side of the business, right? And then how does that translate into, so if you come to me, let's say I am some of these funding organizations, for instance, and you come to me and say, I need funding, I need support and all of that. The question I will ask you is, but you're making profit. Why should I give you any funding? How do you navigate that conversation, right? So that they're able to see the bigger picture of what you're doing within the social impact space rather than the little change you're making. No, I dare call it little, but you can't
okay?
take that,
That's fine.
but rather
There
than
is
focus
nothing
on.
small about more organics.
I know, I know, right? So I know, right? So I'm just trying to, because you don't want to talk numbers. So I decided to
Yeah.
also kind of play along, right? So
Okay. So the first thing, let me start from the second question. It is not all funders that are interested in your social impact. It will interest you to know that. It is not all funders because some funders, I knew I had this conversation with one of my friends like 3 years ago, and we were um we were having a conversation on assessing funds, you know, having access to some kind of I think every year we have this program for people in our community called more beauty and vision boarding exercise, where because I'm an aspirational person, and I think that is also spinning into my business. I believe that whatsoever I lay my hands upon, I prosper, and I want to be the best in whatever I do, so I am, that is part of my core, that is part of my values, you know now, I also know that there is purpose in what I am doing beyond the funding. Even before the funding started coming in, I'd started working with the women. In fact, before I got married, I'd started working with teenagers and youth. So I feel that is ingrained in my purpose. So to a reasonable extent, I am just that person that I'm very particular about the people around me thriving and growing. So there is that part of my own purpose that I feel I am fulfilling. So it has nothing to do with the funding or no funding. If there is still no funding, I mean, we were doing the business for over 5 years and there was no funding and we're still empowering people. So the funding came on later. However, there are some institutions that really do not care about. You won't go and tell a bank if you need finance. You want to go and tell a bank and you're saying you're empowering people and you don't have no making profits. A bank is not going to give you money. They want to look at the numbers. So every business should know that money is extremely important. Cash is the lifeblood of any business. And so revenue is extremely important. So you are not saying that because you're empowering people, you're not making money, or you're empowering people so that you can have access to funding. I think that defeats the purpose um of actually impacting people because of the ripple effect that for us, I don't understand the dynamics of that place, but for me my purpose is rooted in empowering, is rooted in um aspirational thing. My purpose is rooted in making women as much as possible financially independent, because I think I grew up in an environment. I remembered one of our neighbors that used money as a tool, as a weapon to abuse his wife. And so for me, that was deposited in subconsciously in my I think teenage years or something. So that I want every woman to be able to at least fend for herself. I want every woman to be able to have a source of revenue. And so even if I'm not in maybe more organics, so I'm not doing more organics and I'm doing something else, probably real estate or fashion or whatever thing, this same thing most likely is going to spill into it, because for me it is purpose. So it is not about making revenue or anything. Now I was able to work with women because number one, of my curiosity, I wanted to understand, you know the value chain. I wanted to understand, it's very interesting how ordinary shea butter that is looked down on, became something very important to me. So I wanted to understand the science. Where did it come from? What tree is it? And that was why I remember we were planning for a burial of my husband's grandmother. And I just told them at home that, oh, I want to go to where they are making shea butter. So because of I said that, we all traveled together to Oyo State, Shaki, to go and, well, my people said that they want to go and buy elubo. Elubo is yam flour. That is a lot in that place. So all of us just did like a road trip to understand, to meet the women. And after going to Shaki, then I'd gone to maybe like five other communities in Oyo State, in Niger, in different places that, they make this shade because I want to understand, the process. I want to be able to tell the story. I think from a brand storytelling part, I want to be able to communicate the value that the business brings to the table. So it was important for me to understand all of those things. It has nothing to do with making getting grants. However, in the growing of the business, I realized that I wanted a level of consistency. And if I don't work directly with these women, I won't get that level of consistency. That level of consistency is going to increase our revenue. And I also thought of it. If we are believing God for expansion, how big is our capacity for that expansion? So I had to build a relationship with these women across the different states and the different communities. That's number one. So that when I have maybe like 100 tons order, I should be able to fall back to this community to be able to supply the for profit. But in doing that, even as an employer, your employees are happy when they know that you have their back, you care about them, you do this. For me, it is more about the quality of life that these women have. I don't want to be that brand that, oh, they are not happy working towards. I want to be able to be that brand that when I call them that I need 5 tons by next week, they will leave every other person's product and get on my work. So I had to build a solid relationship with them. And in building those relationships, I'm seeing the ripple effect also on their children. I'm seeing the ripple effect on their family. And I'm super excited that the business have just gone beyond just meeting a need to being a conduit of blessing, you know, to different households, to be a source of empowerment for livelihood for different households. And that is really, really cool for me, even beyond the money. Although it is now showing on the money, but that does not, I have not seen it. I mean, there are some, it's not all the grants that I've applied for that I've gotten into because there are some people that uses the metrics. We want to see your revenue. There are some people that uses the metrics. We want to see your social impact side. What this enables you to do is that you're able to manage your production line more effectively. um that is one thing that we were trying to achieve, and then all other things are falling in place. So if you now enter into business or enter into social enterprise because you want to be able to access loan or access grants, trust me, your heart will be broken. You have to have a heart for the people, and that is part of our own value system at More Organics. It is people, it is planet. We are very deliberate about all of those things beyond even the profit. But at the end of the day, we are seeing the ripple effect. But that does not necessarily mean that is what is. A lot of NGOs, it's not all NGOs that get access to finance. But the fact that we are able to see the lives that are being impacted, we are able to see the families that are being uplifted from poverty, it's a big deal to the brand. It is a big deal to the brand.
Wow. 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 I mean, thanks a lot for sharing that, Debussy. Your passion is contagious, right? Your passion is contagious, and I'm so excited to be having this conversation with you, right? You like an embodiment of the whole triple bottom line concept. Do you get you live in it, and I really, I'm thankful for the opportunity to chat with you. I think if I recall correctly, there is a particular um management guy that wrote a book. I think is five forces or something, Porter's five forces, and one of the things he mentioned in that book is the force of suppliers, right? That suppliers can, as a manufacturer, as a business, suppliers can make your life hell if you don't know how to manage them. But you are living that. You are very intentional, right, in the way you manage that relationship, not just because you want to extract something from them, but also because you want it to be a conduit of blessings in your own world. And that is now having a ripple effect on their children, on their possibly their children, their spouses, and all of that. So thanks for all that you're doing. Now, in the course of answering that question, you made a few tiny references to your growing up, right? And it occurred to me that we basically did not say we've not had any conversation around your growing up years, your background, your parentage, and any possible impact of that on what you do today, right? Is this something you're happy to just double click on? I know I'm beginning to bring it to a close, but if it's something you're happy to double click on, that would be great.
Okay, well, I grew up in a family of four. We are just two children, a boy and a girl. My dad and my mom were civil servants, and I think God just gave me the best parents. They are extremely, extremely supportive. Extremely supportive. I remember they are my guinea pigs, when I started the business. My family was my guinea pig. And since 2014, from the sampling time till the time it was registered in 2016, my parents have not used anything. My family has not used anything apart from the products that we make. Um, Extremely supportive. My dad also introduced me to God, to trust God for everything. So it's just that family that encourages you, even though they were scared that, wow, what are you sure? What is this what you want to do? But right now, they've gotten to the point where they're like, oh, we are super proud of you.
Hey, thanks a lot for taking the time to watch the podcast. We are super thankful for you taking that time and investing the time to learn. We hope that you find the story inspiring, and beyond that, that you've been able to articulate one or two things that you want to do differently in your own entrepreneurial journey. May I encourage you to please like, subscribe, comment, and please share the word within your own circle of influence, especially within those that you think are on the same entrepreneurial journey with you. May I also encourage you to please, beyond subscribing to our YouTube channel, follow us on our other social media platforms. That means a lot to us, and we can see that that helps us to track that we're making some progress and so making some impact. Thanks a lot once again for taking the time to watch, and to see you on the next episode.